Hello, welcome to a new Third Win channel video. Today we're going to be doing American Pie characters ranked. This is from the American Pie original movie, American Pie 2, Wedding and Reunion. Some of these characters appear on some of the other films as well. I'll mention those appearances, and without further ado, let's get into it. At number 14, I have John, or otherwise known as MILF Guy. Um, I think he appears in all four of those main movies, and his role is, being MILF guy. But he doesn't really have a defined character. I don't have much to say about him, but how could I ever put him over our number 13, Stifler's mom, who is a real goddess in the world of American Pie. The only reason she's so low is that, again, she doesn't really get a character so much other than being sophisticated and godly. Maybe in Reunion, where she starts dating Mr. Levenstein, that gets cool, and I do enjoy that. But no, not to say she's bad, but she's in number 13 for me. At number 12, I've recently had a change in my mind, and I think that I want to put Vicky here. And I'll spoil number 11 right away, and I'll put Kevin in number 11th spot. So this is probably really controversial, but to me these fall in the same package. I'll also mention quickly that they both don't appear in the third movie, which I think is important, and because we don't in the third movie really get a lot of character development for the ones that do appear there. But getting into it, I think American Pie is special because it has heart, which is something that a lot of these other kind of similar movies like the sex comedy movies don't have. And I think that, for example, Kevin has heart, and that's why he's at number 11, Vicky's at 12. But Vicky, she lacks that heart for me, and these characters feel like they could be in those movies, whereas the rest of the characters in American Pie maybe couldn't. And Kevin, for example, he's important for the plot. Like, he's the one who makes the pact, he's the one who takes him to the cabin. But the development is so slow. Like, he's always kind of tied with Vicky. Even in the reunion, I think it's important to bring out the kind of coming of age and meeting um, old partners and being able to talk to them without um, being sexual, and that's interesting. But his development's very slow, and I guess that's why he hovers so low. And I know that's a bit of a shock, but I just don't find him as interesting as the other characters. And Vicky, she just doesn't do it for me. She doesn't have enough, and just the same reasons. I think she could appear in other movies and fit in there well, but in American Pie, it's that extra bit of quality that I don't see in these characters as much. But that being said, let's see, number 10, I have Jessica. Um, I think Jessica is a little bit more interesting. She at least has this I guess not so stereotypical role, and I like how she helps out the quote unquote nerdy guys. Like, I don't know if she helps Jim, but she helps Sherman. She tells him to drop the whole Shermanator thing, which I wouldn't do, but she's the girl. And also, she helps Finch by spreading the rumors, and that's great. And she comes back in Reunion, which is also uh, very entertaining. And what else to say? I don't know. I think she's just a little bit more interesting than Kevin and Vicky. So I enjoyed her character. And next at number 9, I have none other than Nadia. Um, I think Nadia is really fun. I like how she's almost the one to make the real move with Jim, and I just really I really enjoy that kind of um, I don't know, that weird attraction she has to Jim, and it's the funniest thing when she shows up in reunion, with this kind of quote unquote fake Jim. Uh, it's one of the funniest moments in that movie, and I love that, and I love how she gives Sherman a chance, and the little fun dances with Jim. It's great. Nadia's fantastic. At number 8, also, I'll mention that she kind of breaks that kind of stereotypical model girl. I think she just adds some extra depth, although maybe not being super smart, but she adds some depth to that kind of stereotype, I think. Next, at number 8, I have Mr. Shermanator. Um, I want to mention first that I really like how they added him into band camp as the counselor for Stifler's younger brother at East Great Falls. That was fantastic, and he can continue his Shermanation there. Sherman is also important for the plot because he's the one who kind of pushes them to make the pact because he lies and says that he gets laid, but he doesn't, and that's really entertaining as well. Um, yeah, the Shermanator is just iconic. You can people know the Shermanator, and I love the Shermanator, and I don't think he should drop the Terminator reference. He's just I think he's cooler than people give him credit for. But obviously, lying not great. Um, but awesome. I love Sherman. Number seven, I have Heather, and I guess now is a good time to get into kind of my thoughts on uh, girls versus guys, men versus women in the American Pie series. Men are obvi- not obviously, but they're more fleshed out in the series overall. The series kind of hovers more around the topics of um, teenage experience for guys than it does for girls. So naturally, I feel like some of the girls might be placed lower just because we don't get as much character development and the series isn't as focused on them, and therefore they become a little bit less interesting. Of course, this doesn't go for all of them, but I will say Heather has this charm that some of the others don't have. I think she's unique. I think she stands up for herself, and I think her relationship with Oz is probably my favorite or second favorite in the series. And I love how in Reunion they somehow end up together, even though there is some cheating involved. But it wouldn't be right if they didn't end up together, or it seems like they end up together. And I don't know. I also like how she's the one to kind of change Oz and not I'll mention Oz later, but yeah, I like Heather a lot. I think she's really charming. And now we get into the real kind of meat of American Horror Story. No, not American Horror Story, American Pie. Um, we have Finch. Um, I guess this comes down to personal preference, but I know Finch is my favorite character in this in all this. I think some people have him as the favorite, but I really respect Finch's character. He feels like they took inspiration from weird kids in the 70s, 80s, and 90s and put them all together into Finch is this kind of modern version of a Breakfast Club character. Um, I enjoy Finch, but I think where Finch really shines is interactions with Stifler and Stifler's mom. Just for that alone, he's a legend. His development, his ability now to go to the bathroom at school, which is a relatable fear I think for a lot of people. And I really like his role in Reunion, where he comes off as this most interesting man in the world, but at the end, they find out that he just works at Staples and he stole his boss's bike. And I think I think they did Stifler, no, sorry, Finch really well. And I think that it's really important to highlight as well American Wedding, where Finch and Stifler kind of swap roles because they're fighting for this girl, and I think that is some of the most entertaining stuff that American Pie's ever done, and it was a brilliant way to move his character along, and I really enjoyed that. Um, and then the second movie, he brings in this tantra stuff, and he always brings something new to the table, and his interactions again, class. So now we get into our top five. At number five, I have Michelle, who is our highest rated woman or girl, and for good reason. Um, I think she's the perfect couple with Jim, and I will mention I love Bandcamp, the movie, the American Pie movie Bandcamp, and just picturing her in that kind of setting and understanding why she always references the Bandcamp and giving Jim a chance and being honest. Yeah, she's honest, and her interactions with Jim's dad. I love An American Wedding, and um, the kind of really romantic thing that Jim did for her, Stevie in the second movie. That is one of my favorite moments, and giving him advice to getting with Nadia is I don't know, she's just a really heartwarming character, and she's interesting. I don't I don't quite know any characters like her, and this kind of wild but reserved but not reserved. And her parents, oh, her parents in American Wedding. Oh, okay. I really like Michelle. I think she's really great. Um, and number four, and this I know this is where it gets tough, but I have at number four I have Oz. And I'll tell you why I really like Oz. In the first movie, the first one of the first scenes I think almost is where he's in the car with the college girl, and he kind of throws out this perverse line, and then the girls gives him some serious advice like, "Have you ever considered considering the girls, the girls or the women's feelings?" And then that kind of changes his perspective, although he's kind of halfway there, and then he meets Heather and his kind of transformation through the movie, and he becomes this really likable, humble guy. He's nice to everybody, and his interactions with obviously Stifler and the rest of the guys are great. And what really made me like Oz a lot was the end of the first movie, where they're all kind of not bragging, but they're all telling their story of what happened the night of prom and how they did it. And Oz says, "Oh, it didn't really happen for me, but I had a great night." Where he's lying. He did, or at least the it seems like he did it, but he comes off as humble to respect Heather, and I really like that. Oz is just a great character. It's a shame that it doesn't appear in the third movie, but again, he appears in Reunion, and he ends up with Heather, and I love that relationship. And again, some cheating, and it's interesting that he's a celebrity, but he still has that vibe of Oz from the first movie, and I love that. So he's a great character, and he's one of my favorites for sure. Number three, I have Mr. Levenstein, who is the only character I believe to appear in every single movie, even though he doesn't appear in Girls' Rules, but that one's a bit of a different story. Doesn't really involve, well, it's kind of like a sub thing, and it's the first one to be based around girls, so I think it could be natural that he doesn't natural his trademark. But getting into Mr. Levenstein, he's the helper of all curious and confused um, young people, and um, telling them it's perfectly natural what they're feeling, and he creates all these awkward scenarios and some of the funniest scenarios in the movie. Another moment I love is this his dance when he sees Jim on the video call with Nadia at the end of the second movie. I love that. I love how he's kind of the face of American Pie at this point because he's in every movie. He's always there. He's the dad, and he really is just the best movie dad to me. I love his his adventure in the last movie where he gets to date a little bit and Stifler's mom. That was really good and just fantastic. And I hope we get to see more of him. To be honest, I hope we get to see more American Pie because he really is the face and he's just iconic and eyebrows as well. I don't know, he's fantastic. And who doesn't like him? Come on, I could put him at number one as well. But we have here the battle of the opposites. Kind of, yeah, the opposites. Um, so I'm gonna drag these up right away, and I'm gonna put Stifler at number one, and I'm gonna put Jim at number two, and I'm gonna explain myself. So Jim, let me get into Jim first. So Jim, to me, he brings the absolute funniest moments in the show. Like in the second movie where he's blowing the trumpet as Stevie and the crowd is gearing him up, or the moment in again the second movie where he's holding the VHS tape in one hand, super glued, and then the other one to his groin. He's on the roof, and the police comes, and moments like that, and how he always gets himself into these crazy situations. I love that about Jim, and he really is. If Mr. Levenstein is the face of the show, Jim is the essence. He is, where American Pie spawns from. This kind of not confused, but kind of sexually frustrated younger guy who has no idea how to talk to girls and, just keeps messing up. And I don't know. I think every guy sees a little bit of himself in Jim, and I think he's just I don't know. He's just fantastic and very funny, and he's nice and humble, and he always tries to do the right thing, I feel like, which is also great. Um, and now that I say that, I almost want to swap them. But now let me get into Stifler, okay? So Stifler, he on his own spawned four more spin-offs of American Pie. The family of Stifler, Casa de Stifler, and that on its own says a lot. Stifler is iconic. The Stiffmeister, everyone knows Stiffmeister. Um, through his insane jokes, his dance skills, his eating disgusting stuff by accident, his just everything. He's such an entertaining character. Without Stifler, this movie would be more like an indie film, I feel like. But Stifler brings in that action. He packs that action into his shit-eating grin, and I just absolutely love Stifler and everything he spawns. Uh, just a fantastic character, and I should mention as well, kind of like this realization that his friends might not actually like him so much, and in the third movie where he redeems himself, and I will mention again, his kind of fight with Finch for the girl is fantastic, and his role in the wedding is, oh man, unforgettable. I think might be some of my favorite stuff in American Pie, and in Reunion where the guys come back for him when they've kind of made him sad, and they realize after reading in the yearbook that Stifler just wants to keep the party going with his boys, and they come back for him. They fetch him from his job. He quits, and they walk into the reunion with the suits and the ties, and oh man, a moment like that. And then, of course, Stifler gets to do it with Finch's mom, which is just I can't really think of a better way to wrap up American Pie, really. And when I say all these things, I should really mention that I think that these two are both number one, and I don't care. I'm putting them both there. So, um, lastly, I'll mention about Stifler as well. His interactions with Finch, Jim, literally everyone in the series are fantastic. And so many quotes you can use. You can learn a lot from Stifler. Um, and like he says to Jim when he's teaching him the dance, what's one thing I got? Confidence, and that's something that everyone can learn from Stifler. But that's a bit too deep. What I'll say, closing remarks. I love American Pie. I love the series. Um, I really want to make more videos, and if you guys want to see more videos, the best way of showing that is by subscribing. That lets me know you like this kind of content. I can keep making it. Um, I want to hear as well in the comments what is your funniest moment of these movies, and how would you rank these characters? Um, but now you see my list. I'll zoom out a little bit so you guys can see it in its entirety. And I want to thank everyone for watching if you watched all the way up to here. And I've really enjoyed making this video. So please subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. American Pie forever. Love it.